Hi everyone, Hungry Reader here. I'm sorry that you haven't seen that much of me over the last couple of months, but, things got a little hairy all over the world, it seems like, and I had a hard time getting the motivation to put anything out. Even those video game ones, and I kind of think of those as a cheat. But somehow I got the motivation to do something today.
I think we're turning around.
I don't know where the motivation came from, but here it is. Today I'd like to talk to you about a book called Terrible Things. Aspects of this book may look familiar on first glance. Eve Bunting is already a well-known author in her own right to start with. And just about all of you are already familiar with Stephen Gammell and his beautiful and sometimes haunting artwork. But this book has a third part that will probably sound pretty familiar to you. At least I hope it will. The clearing in the woods was home to the small forest creatures. The birds and squirrels shared the trees. The rabbits and porcupines shared the shade beneath the trees. And the frogs and fish shared the cool brown waters of the forest pond. They were content until the terrible things came.
We have come for every creature with feathers on its back.
We don't have feathers.
Nor we.
Nor we. Nor we.
But the birds twittered nervously in the tops of the trees. Feathers! They rose in the air, but the terrible things had brought their terrible nets, and they flung them high, and caught the birds, and carried them away. The other forest creatures talked nervously among themselves.
Those birds were always too noisy. Good riddance, I say. It's my room in the trees now.
Why did the terrible things want the birds? What's wrong with feathers?
We mustn't ask. The terrible things don't need a reason. Just be glad it wasn't us they wanted.
What are the terrible things? They're things, and they're terrible, but other than that, the book never actually says what they are. They could be humans, they could be demons. Now there were no birds to sing in the clearing, but life went on almost as before, until the day the terrible things came back.
We have come for every bushy-tailed creature who lives in the clearing.
We have no tails. Nor have we. Not real tails.
Wait, do porcupines not have tails? Wait, yeah they do, but they're not bushy. You don't need to say you have no tails. The squirrels chittered their fear and ran high into the treetops, but the terrible things swung their terrible nets higher than the squirrels could run, and wider than the squirrels could leap, and they caught them all and carried them away.
Those squirrels were greedy, always storing away things for themselves, never sharing.
Boy, those terrible things just keep making the forest better and better.
But why did the terrible things take them away? Did the terrible things want the clearing for themselves?
No, they have their own place. The terrible things don't need a reason. Just mind your own business, little rabbit. We don't want them to get mad at us.
Now there were no birds to sing or squirrels to chitter in the trees, but life in the clearing went on almost as before, until the day the terrible things came again.
We have come for every creature that swims.
The frogs dived deep in the forest pool. The little fish darted this way and that. But the terrible things threw their terrible nets down into the depths, and they dragged up the dripping frogs and the shimmering fish and carried them away.
Why did the terrible things take them? What did the frogs and the fish do to them?
Probably nothing, but the terrible things don't need a reason. Many creatures dislike frogs, lumpy, slimy things.
Are rabbits really like this? Jeez. Now there were no birds to sing, no squirrels to chitter, no frogs to croak, no fish to play in the forest pool. A nervous silence filled the clearing. Oh, it's a ecological metaphor. This is about noise pollution.
We have come for every creature that sprouts quills.
The rabbits stopped quivering.
We don't have quills.
The porcupines bristled with all their strength, but the terrible things covered them with the curl of their terrible nets, and the porcupines hung in them like flies in a spider's web as the terrible things carried them away.
Those porcupines were always bad-tempered, prickly, stickly things.
I think we should move. What if the terrible things come back?
Nonsense. Why should we move? This has always been our home. The terrible things won't come back. We are the white rabbits. It won't happen to us.
As day followed peaceful day, Little Rabbit thought Big Rabbit must be right. Until the day the terrible things came back. Little Rabbit saw the terrible gleam of their terrible eyes through the forest darkness.
We have come for any creature that is white.
There are no white creatures here but us.
We have come for you.
And the big circling nets dropped over them, and the terrible things carried them away. All but Little Rabbit, who was little enough to hide in a pile of rocks by the pond.
I should have tried to help the other rabbits. If only we creatures had stuck together, it could have been different.
That story did sound a little familiar, didn't it? That's why the subtitle of this book is Terrible Things, an Allegory of the Holocaust. As Pastor Martin Niemöller indelibly put it, first they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out, for I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Now some of you might actually be saying, but communists are bad guys, or but the trade unionists are corrupt, or but Jews
become kind of a symbol.
Fill in the blank here. Funny how much that sounds like birds make too much noise, or frogs are so ugly, or porcupines are nasty, sticky things. This is a story of something that happened in real life, even if it does star cute little animals. But more than that, it's a story of something that keeps happening in real life. It happened in previous generations, it happens overseas, and it can happen here. So if there's someone in your life that you think is too noisy, or ugly, or stuck up, keep an eye on them. You might miss them when they're gone.
It's Pepe's become kind of a symbol.